Hello, friends. My name is Daryl Robert Schoon, and I'm here once again with the extraordinary, though modestly she would say it's not true, the wonderful Rev Betty Tatalajski, the founder of the Temple of Universality. Now, when we had our last program, I talked about 1979 when she walked into this little church here in Tucson and was floored by what happened to her. It was a spiritualist church. Betty's background had been one of it, raised a strict Southern Baptist, though you did go to movies.
On Saturday.
On Saturday, okay, with the possibility of perhaps going to hell.
Yes.
But you went nonetheless.
Yes, I did.
All right. And she eventually converted to Roman Catholicism because she had run into this cute, I'm sure he was cute, I've never seen a picture of him, soon-to-be husband of yours.
Yes.
And he was a Catholic.
And I was going to convert him.
You were going to convert him. And so what happened is she ended up converting to Catholicism. Well, nonetheless, she ends up in Tucson, and she goes into this little church. This is all destiny. Here in Tucson, your church by the minister, Reverend Robert Ireland, a medium, a psychic, brother of Richard Ireland, who had this church in Tucson, son of Margaret Fling, who channeled the White Lily work. Betty walks in there, gets a message that changes her life. She's told by Carlos Blair, who is being channeled by Reverend Ireland, to take her Course in Miracles class to Camp Chesterfield back in Indiana. She does. There she is told by Sanat Kumara and Saint Germain, she is going to start a new religion. Betty thinks, oh my God.
You're kidding.
All right.
You're not only kidding, but you're talking to the wrong person.
And they told her she was going to be an ordained minister. She had the same reaction. They told her she was going to travel the world, learn all philosophies and religions, and blah, 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 blah. 10 years later, to the day, she was ordained by Reverend Bob Ireland as a minister. And about the traveling, that's what we talked about. On the last show, she's gone to Israel 26 times in the last 10 years. And today, we're going to talk about the trip where she visited 120 countries. I think that would qualify as traveling the world.
I think they were right.
You know?
I think they were right, yes. Yes, I was that same American Clergy Leadership Conference, 120 ministers that I'm so honored to be a part of. And these are different religions here. They're not all one faith. And of course, as a spiritualist, I'm in a minority there, but it's all good because they're all wonderful people of God. And we were given the opportunity to go to these many countries simply to read a beautiful message that Reverend Sun Myung Moon received from the spirit world. Now, what a lovely assignment, And I started out with one of my other ministers in Nagoya, Japan. I love Japan. I'd lived there 3 years. And it was a lovely inauguration for me to be in Nagoya. From there, I went to Korea, and from there to Europe. And sometimes I was doing 3 countries in a day. Here in America, we have difficulty conceiving of the size of Europe and some of the countries and so forth. But one day I left Lisbon early in the morning. I flew over to Germany. I did a talk in 2 countries and flew into Salzburg, Austria that night. At 10 o'clock at night, they drove me over to Munich. From Munich, I described it like a trapeze act. This group would meet me at the airport. I would do the talk. They would take me back, and they almost dropped me though in Munich. And so I got to stay 2 days because I had a ticket to fly to Africa, my first African country, and I found out that France does not really encourage ministers to go to
Oh, that's
Africa
interesting.
because they have their own way of doing, okay? Because it's either English or French, and mostly French where I was going. But so it took me a couple of days to get, they actually flew me to Zurich, and they allowed me to fly out of Zurich to Cameroon. So, but anyway, it was a magical time, and I visited so many countries, and everyone was wonderful. I do want to mention Nagoya again and that first day, okay, because I was early to this beautiful reception of 400 people, and they were treating me like I was royalty or something, you know. I mean, anyway, I could stand
We
it.
think you are, but
You know what? I handled it okay. It was new to me. But since we had this early time, they came over and said, well, this is Mr. So-and-so, and he is an automobile manufacturer here in Japan, and he is here early, and he's offered to take you to the temple, the Buddhist temple. And so we went over there to the Buddhist temple. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I kneeled down to pray, and this big light, huge gold light, appeared in front of me, and Spirit said, go up to where the 6 priests are. There were no people down here. I was the only one. Go up, and it was a tatami flooring where the priests were offering the offerings, you know. And so I put my head down again. The golden light said, tell Reverend Moon that the whole Buddhist world is welcoming the people around the world, and we are so pleased to have this journey. So I was pleased too, but that's actually the morning that I started the 120 countries. So from there, I went from, as I said, to Korea, and then to Europe, and then to Africa. The thing about Africa was, and I've talked about Cameroon so much, and that beautiful song that I've become.
oh, Finlandia.
Yeah, Finlandia.
Beautiful words.
This is it's sort of the theme song for the temple,
Yeah.
you know. But when I went to the Congo, first of all, we went to Brazzaville, the Congo, and then it's only across the river, 15 minutes across the river, to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That day, as we were going in, there were huge signs. They were going to have the first election in 40 years. The country was filled with UN troops because they really did anticipate disorder. But they had been there for 2 years waiting for this day. So it was a very significant time to be in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic. It's interesting to me, the Democratic Republic of the Congo was communist. The Republic of the Congo was not. So, you know, it is interesting, isn't it, you know? So anyway, I did the talk to, I don't know, between 600 and 1,000 people on the day of the election. As we were driving through Kinshasa, there was the billboards just like here. So I asked Spirit, who is going to win? And they said, we will simply say that Mr. Kabila is a very good man. Okay, and of course he has proven to be since that. But we did the talk, and of course it was contested, and it was a year before Mr. Kabila, who did win, was inaugurated. It took a year to get him inaugurated. But after the talk, a couple of days later, we got a call from the vice president, Azariah Rubiwa Maniwa. He was in charge of the government because we didn't have an elected president. And he sent a convoy of his troops over and invited us to his compound with a 20-foot wall, corrugated steel.
You know, you really travel differently than I do.
Yes. Well, we got a honor guard there. And so there were four of us, and we went, and he said I was out of the country. I was in the deep part of the country, in the jungle, because we anticipated, a lot of rioting, which did happen. But he said, when I came back last night on the plane, there was a television set on the plane, and I saw and heard your talk.
Wow.
And he said, and you talked about peace, and I want you to tell me what that is.
Whew.
He says, I am 40 years old. I have 4 sons. I don't want them to be warriors. I don't want to fight, but that's all I know. What is peace? Please explain it to me, because in my lifetime we have never seen it. And he talked to us individually, and when I was talking to him in his private, it was on the lawn, it was very lovely. He said, you're from Arizona, you said? And I said, yes. He says, I was in Arizona earlier this year. I said, well, yes, we want your copper, don't we? And he says, well, yes, it was the copper people. I had a lovely time. I said, well, Vice President Maniwa, you're going to be one of the most popular men in the world, and your Congo is going to be the most popular place in the world, because you've got diamonds and gold and platinum and everything else that everybody else wants. We want it because and he says, yes. I said, I'm going to pray for you. And he says, please do. I need your prayers.
Yeah.
He's not used to prayers.
Prayers, yeah.
But I was standing there talking to him, and he's a very tall man, very a great presence. And gold came out of his eyes, and Spirit said, this is a good man. So I know that he's not the president. That's Mr. Kabila, and he's been a great president. But I do think so highly of this vice president. So I had a great time. I loved. It was my favorite place. I do believe
Really?
in all the places I went. The Democratic Republic of the Congo was my favorite place. Although next year, when I went with a MEPI to the with the ACLC back to a MEPI visit, at Thanksgiving that year, the vice president of the Republic of the Congo was the guest of American Clergy Leadership. So he's equally a wonderful, wonderful man. I didn't, in my journey throughout Africa, I just fell totally in love with the people. And I had a lot of people say that was really the favorite continent that we went to was Africa. The people were so kind, and so we're very, very, very grateful about that. Mr. Tokuno, he's Japanese, was assigned there, and he's now in charge of Russia and Mongolia. So I recently saw him, and I said, I want to go to Mongolia. And he says, well, why not,
Oh,
he
that's
says,
good.
I'm assigned there now. So,
Betty.
that's my new job.
That's right. That's
So
right.
in Spirit, remember
Yeah,
Spirit said
they
I
told
was
you you're going to
when
Mongolia.
When it thawed out, I
Yeah.
would be going to Mongolia. Well, I hope so, because every country, the people are wonderful. I don't know why we have all the fighting. I don't know why we have all the guns, all the munitions and everything. Even as a Marine, I don't understand that. I really value peace. So we don't need to, if we're going to drop anything on people, it should be some like
Chocolates.
Chocolate, nobody will argue with that. Food, I remember, because, that after the Second World War, we dropped things on Germany, but it was the Marshall Plan, and we dropped medicine and food, and we made friends. The same thing when I lived in Japan those 3 years. MacArthur made it a point that we become friends with the Japanese, and so when my daughter was born there, I'm so proud to have her as a Japanese daughter, but and I love Japan. But the thing about this was about the Congo. When I was leaving and flying to Nairobi, Kenya, my entourage took me to the airport. We are late, of course, and I am going up the steps. I have my floor-length white wool coat that I have slept in Europe. It's December, folks. It was cold in Europe, okay? And I'm standing there with water dripping.
In Africa, with the same coat.
Carrying a lot, floor-length. I have a suitcase. I have a big handbag. And as I start in the door of the airport, a young man comes running up the steps, thrust a big box
With this in it.
in my, between me and the coat. It weighs about 10 pounds, and it was just in a corrugated box. And so I'm stunned. Instead of being so grateful, because I don't know what it was anyway, I just, what am I going to do with it?
That's right.
Well, anyway, I flew to Nairobi, and when I am leaving, I open the box, and it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
This is the Africa.
This is Africa, and it's malachite and copper. It's very heavy, and it's exquisite, isn't it? So I didn't know who gave it to me. I didn't know where it came from. And this was 2006. In 2010, I guess it was, the night before New Year's Eve, my sister Sharon and I were talking, and I said, I'm the happiest person in the world, but I have a splinter in my heart because I don't know who gave me this, and I've never been able to say thank you. I got a phone call New Year's Eve from my friend Stephen Berg in Phoenix, and he says, Betty, there's a young man here who says he knows you. He's from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And he says he's never met you, but we were on the computer and he saw your face, and he says, I know her. He said she was supposed to come to my village and do the talk, and I had this made for her. And so Stephen calls me, and I said, oh, please, God, bring him down to my church in the morning, Sunday morning.
In Tucson.
Bring him here. Because it was so true, that splinter that I never I never knew it was from. I didn't know
anything.
He said you were to come to my village. Well, see, we didn't know our schedule. We just knew the tickets we had that were taking us here.
Yeah.
I found out that there was some concern there, and they changed my schedule. He said, and he came down. His name is Prosper Kaluba. Prosper Kaluba. He said, I was in charge of the arrangements for your talk. And he said, so I had this made for you. And then I had, when you couldn't come, he said, we're so sorry. It was like they were apologizing because I could not come to their, he said, village. I found out that the city he's from is the second largest in Africa, more than a village. And you know, I call it the miracle of the Congo. The miracle. The largest country, I do believe, in Africa. And how was I going to thank somebody for that? That was, it seemed impossible. I know nothing is impossible with spirit. But when I was telling her just 2 weeks before, my life is so lovely, so wonderful, but it has a splinter because I cannot thank somebody for that incredible gift. And here on New Year's Day, 2 weeks later, he's sitting in my church. I call it my miracle of the Congo. Memories of people who are so kind, generous, and work so very hard. They are very beautiful people. I must say that I never met anybody on the trip, in my experience, that wasn't kind and gentle and wonderful, wonderful people. And I also found out how they want to be. I don't understand people traveling and in fear and thinking someone is lesser than. I have never understood that, and I think we need to travel more. I think if I had my way that all 12-year-olds to 14-year-olds would get trips not only for a few days, but really be able to exchange places with these children, kids from other countries. I think it should be a part of our curriculum that they do that. I know that the internet is helping because my grandsons, you know, for years have friends around the world, but I don't know how we can make judgment on people being different when, to me, it's a celebration to find people who are different, who think differently, pray differently, look different. The Temple of Universality is a joy to me, and I hope to a lot of people, and eventually a lot more. And remember, folks, come to the temple. It's real simple. And remember that you'll never die. You'll make transition into many worlds unknown to us right now, and life gets better and better. So come see us. We'd love to see you. God bless.
You know, Betty, when you walked into that little spiritualist church in Tucson in 1979,
Blessed Trinity,
not knowing whatever was in front of you, you could not have imagined, one, a year later being told you were going to start this thing, you're going to travel all these countries, and yet, here we are in Tucson, years later, and you are the happiest person in this place.
Absolutely. Happiest person I know. Why not? It's a choice.